Denodo Data Bites. Hello, listeners. Welcome back to Denodo Data Bites. I'm your host, Neha, and you're joining us for another edition on our Executive Spotlight series, where we connect with the visionaries driving Denodo's innovation. This is the first episode in a special three-part series on Denodo's 2026 data predictions, the most critical shifts that will define enterprise data strategy in the coming year. In this series, we will be dissecting the key trends to give you a focused, actionable look at the future. We are joined once again by two of Denodo's most influential leaders, Ravi Shankar, Denodo Senior Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer, who will be guiding our conversation today, and Alberto Pan, Denodo's Executive Vice President and Chief Technical Officer, offering his expert architectural insights. Welcome, Ravi and Alberto. I'm looking forward to kicking off our three-part series on the 2026 data predictions right now. So, Ravi, let's jump straight into part one then, shall we? Starting with the architectural foundation that will enable the next wave of AI.
Thank you, Neha. Alberto, it's great to launch this series with you.
Thank you, Ravi. Great to be here.
Awesome. All right, for this part one, Alberto, we are going to be focusing on what I see as the big three architectural change in 2026. The move to autonomous AI, the rise of the logical data management, again, we have seen this year and we forecasted as a trend for next year, as well as the AI-ready data becoming a mandate from the top. So let's start with the very first one, which is AI moves from the assistant to autonomous agentic operator. This one, I would say, Alberto, is very foundational. So AI is moving from just being a simple co-pilot to a more autonomous agentic operator. It is not just suggesting actions, it is actually executing them autonomously, triggering workflows and approving transactions. Industry predictions state that CIOs are expecting about 42% increase in investments in agentic AI in 2026, compared to 25% in Gen AI, but now more focus is on the agentic AI. So, Alberto, how does the shift to the autonomous agents fundamentally change the data requirements? Specifically, how do you take these specialized data agents and see how they fit into the picture of this data architecture? I want to emphasize that while 92% of the AI agents are currently conversational, the market is aggressively shifting to autonomous use cases.
Well, autonomous agents actually set a lot of requirements with conversational AI or traditional Gen AI applications, right? Because they both need a unified and trusted data layer with strong semantics to prevent hallucination. So that is common to both types of applications. But agents also bring some big new challenges, right? I could highlight probably two of them. First, it's that the data needs of these agents are more diverse and more unpredictable. You can't guess in advance what data they will need because actually they decide that autonomously on the fly. And second, these agents need 100% real-time operational data to make accurate decisions. And conventional centralized architectures just can't handle these requirements. They force you to decide upfront what data will be needed in order to copy it to the central system. So they don't verify the first requirement. And also data is never 100% real time because there is always some latency associated to copy the data. So I think our prediction is that by 2027, over half of enterprise agentic ecosystems will rely on a specialized data layer, one that gives real-time access to data where it lives, minimizing the data movement while still guaranteeing trust and consistent semantics. And we think that logical data management is really the key enabling technology for this.
I very much agree with that assessment, Alberto. Definitely, these autonomous agents needs data that are being generated as the business is running for them to take the latest actions. And I think having access to this real-time data is imperative, and having something move to a central place and then served up will probably not meet that requirement. All right, good. Let's move on to the second one, which is logical data management replaces one big lakehouse strategies. Now, we have actually seen this tradition kind of take off or trend take off this year, and we forecast that it will continue very big into the next year. And that is because the level of trust and control that is needed for the data to operate is impossible with fragmented data. So for years, the aspiration of having this one big lake house was what people were going for. And this is kind of a traditional architecture that has been playing out since the beginning, since the 80s with the database and the 90s with the enterprise data warehouse and so on. So our prediction is that this ambition is kind of fading with the lake houses, which started sometime after the millennium, and it will get replaced with this logical data management for one of the reasons that you mentioned above for the AI, autonomous AI needing the data in real time. So major vendors like Snowflake and Databricks, they have championed unified approaches. Yet in practice, many organizations are running multiple lakehouses that I see across multiple cloud providers, whether it is Amazon, Google, or Microsoft. And hence, they are creating a fragmented multi-vendor landscape. So question to you, Alberto. So, why are organizations moving away from this centralized model? And how can this logical data fabric better address the complexity of today's data environment, enabling multi cloud data sovereignty and also portability in the process?
Well, Ravi, honestly, I think it's very hard to make this one big lake house approach work in modern global organizations, right? First, because of organizational reality. Companies today are distributed. Different units make independent decisions. And this leads to data fragmentation that you just can't solve with the brute force approach of copying everything into one central box. It's often impossible. It's too slow when possible, and it will also multiply the number of data copies. That in many cases will actually make the fragmentation problem even worse. And second, because one size never fits all. Even if you could centralize all the data, different systems have different strengths. For instance, a recent Silicon Angle study showed that less than 5% of the joint Databricks and Snowflake customers plan to drop one of them. Why? Because they need both, because each has a specific strengths for specific use cases. So we think logical data management is the only realistic answer for modern global organizations. It lets you create a unified semantic layer with consistent governance without the need of mass data replication. It also ensures, as you mentioned, data portability by design. So you can move data and workloads to other systems without affecting data consumers. And of course, this flexibility will allow you to optimize performance, but also to optimize cost, because you can also move workloads to cheaper systems and also to fulfill data sovereignty requirements that, of course, are getting more and more important in the last few years. And that is why we predict that logical data management will be the next evolution in data management architecture.
That's very true. And there was a book that was written by Christopher Gardner, which was published by O'Reilly on this topic. And they called it correctly, I would say, the rise of the logical data management to indicate this becoming a new trend and continuing into the next year. All right, let's come to the last and final one for this series. And the trend, I would say, is that AI ready data becomes a CIO level priority. Now, we've been talking about how the data is actually needed for the business. It's a mandate that the business teams ask of the CIOs to deliver it to them. We know the AI projects have failed to provide this solid foundation. We just talked about it in terms of this physical consolidation approach that you mentioned. Our third prediction here is that this AI ready data has become like a board level priority. We know that the board is driving a lot of the AI use cases in many of the companies for which data is a big requirement. And this AI ready data we forecast will become a top priority at the board level itself in 2026. So, why is this critical to the board of directors to go focus on the AI ready data as the top investment? So, this is something it was shared as a sentiment in a study that this requirement for the AI ready data increased by 44%. So, which is the actual returns are not very good, as we know from the AI rollout that has happened so far. About 59% of the AI proof of concepts are not going into production, and a staggering 69% of the organizations are seeing negative returns, which means their cost is exceeding the value they get from the AI. So, Alberto, what does this mean for data leaders, and how does this investment shifting from like AI experimentation to an AI foundation? So, we know that 58% of the organizations already indicate that AI ready data is one of their top priorities.
Yes, totally agree. I think everyone is realizing now in the industry that the ROI from AI initiatives is gated by data readiness. As you mentioned, a huge percentage of AI initiatives in the last 2 years failed to go beyond the pilot stage exactly for this reason. So this is the year I think that executives will shift investment from simply buying AI tools to really focusing on fixing the data foundation and demanding real, tangible returns. And again, I think that the Denodo and logical data management are a fantastic fit here. First, because as we have discussed, Denodo using logical data management can be this data layer for your AI applications, your specialized data access layer for AI. We provide trusted data with consistent semantics across the entire data landscape. Does not matter if it's on premises, in the cloud, or hybrid. And second, because of speed. As you mentioned, I think managers will be under pressure this year to deliver results. And logical data management is perfect for an incremental approach. You don't need to wait months or years to show value. You can focus on a specific high impact business AI use case, actually be able to deliver visible results very quickly.
Yeah, that is very true. So, as the board pressures the managers to deliver the results, definitely the AI ready data is the root cause for all these failures. And hence, they need to fix that. And with logical data management, they can. Well, thank you, Alberto. This was a great series that we kicked off, and we will continue into the next one. So, what it seems to me as the transition from here going into the architectural debate into more of a strategic data activation in the next one. So the future is not just about using the AI, but using it very effectively to ground your autonomous agents in real time, governed, and in a compliant manner. So logical data management is clearly the foundational strategy for enabling the shift to automation and provide the level of intelligence that is needed for these AI agents to work. So in our product, our marketing and sales, and so we are kind of looking at reflecting this priority of AI messages to the AI teams who are now controlling this budget. Well, Neha, let me turn it over to you now.
Thank you so much, Ravi and Alberto, for this discussion and for walking us through Denodo's first 3 data predictions for 2026. It was really interesting to hear both of your insights, and they definitely confirm that the future of enterprise data is going to be both intelligent and highly governed with the help of logical data management at the center for companies' new upcoming AI initiatives. And a note to our listeners, this was just part 1 of a 3-part series. In the next episode, we'll be covering 3 more key predictions for 2026 around data sovereignty and portability, around autonomous physical AI, and domain-specific language models and data products. And you can also find more resources and technical deep dives in the resources section on our website. And as always, if you've enjoyed this episode, please head over to denodo.com/podcast to find out more resources on all things data.